few months, I think, launching, where we have a range of activities, both related to research and teaching and exchange of academics and students between and Georgia, that I think is incredibly important. It's exactly the type of thing we need to do, and we can benefit from the different sets of skills and experiences that both parties can bring to the table. So it's a really exciting development for us, and I'm looking forward to see how. So I'll just finish off by saying again, welcome. It's a great pleasure to see people here, albeit not in person. Let's see how this meeting goes, and you may decide in the future as to whether this is the best way to do it, or in person is the best way. I think there are pluses and minuses to both. So it's up to us, I guess, as a group to consider what's going to work best in the future. But for now, we're online. Let's make the most of it and enjoy the rest of the day. And I think I'm going to hand you over to Ian, who'll say a little bit more on behalf of the school. Ian, thank you.
Welcome. Thank you very much. That was a good overview. And Ian Block has been a very faithful attender of Georgian Studies Days, and we're very grateful for his support over the years. And I personally have to thank him as well. And perhaps we should introduce you, because you are Assistant Head of Life Sciences and have been involved for many years in collaboration with Georgia.
Indeed, thanks, Tamara. Yes, the Georgian Studies Day has always been an excellent opportunity to meet people and to sort of facilitate cross-institution, cross-country relationships. And this year, particularly with the theme of Georgian scholars and professionals working abroad, I've worked out, I think, with a disturbing sort of sense of tempus fugit, that I met my first Georgian professional abroad about 30 years ago, and she will be following me in the next order of speaking. So yes, it's been some time. I'm not going. Alistair has obviously given the introduction to the school, and so what I was going to focus on for a few minutes is some of the specific links that we've developed, that Nina and I have developed across the years and through the areas, particularly with the University of Georgia, but there are wider links as well out to other Georgian universities. And as Alistair mentioned, possibly one of our most exciting things that we're working on at the moment is the formation of a virtual sort of research institution, a collaborative activity between Westminster and the University of Georgia, specifically initially between the kind of the life sciences department and the equivalent department in the University of Georgia, where we are looking to build opportunities, I guess, and the ability to have a joint research institute where we can facilitate joint applications to grants and the combined projects working across the different areas, utilizing the different skill sets. Nina and I are probably not the best examples here, as we're both immunologists, but within the people that we are aiming to recruit into our area, we have a wide spread of knowledge and expertise within that, and the ability to try and foster this kind of cross-discipline activity is what we're looking to develop within this virtual institute, and hoping to extend that out, so we've got the opportunity for some staff exchanges, maybe even potentially PhD students, or maybe even master's students projects. Obviously this is we need to explore the scope of this some more, but that's one of our current areas that we're working on. As a school, we have other long-standing relationships. We have a medical science program with which we have an agreement with the University of Georgia as a progression route along to their MD program. So this is very much about expanding our links and nurturing our links between Westminster, the University of Georgia, and indeed other institutions within the country. I think that's probably all I need to say at this point, and I will pass over to Nina with a bit more perspective.
Thank you, Ian, so much. I think Nina Porakishvili needs no introduction. all I can say is that this Georgian Studies Day, she has been the mover and shaker with Makabakradze and, of course, the wonderful Hannah, making the technological stuff work. And really, I thank you from the bottom of my heart, Nina, for making this actually happen today. And without any further ado, I will hand over to you with many, many thanks.
Thank you, Tamara. First of all, I would like to emphasize that the program was probably entirely put together by Makabakradze, and the prize goes to her. But we, of course, were helping and excited really to see the new format of the Georgian Studies Day, and we'll see how it works. I mean, it's very difficult to say anything after Andrew and after Alistair and Ian, because they kind of emphasized already what we are trying to do. From my perspective, I arrived to the UK in 1995, and I've been really to this beautiful country for 30 years. And Ian is right that he's one of the first people, apart from Peter Lydiard, who I met during this first year, first at the University College London, and then Ian moved to Westminster, and then in about a year I moved to the University of Westminster, and I spent really great almost 30 years here, and I mean there at the University of Westminster. And I think this is a marvelous institution where people really feel that they can fulfill their aims, their inspirations, where you feel protected, and where you feel really that you are supported by your colleagues and your friends, and of course a great institution from the educational point of view and from the scientific point of view. So despite of the fact that now back to Georgia, and actually to this University of Georgia, with which we would like to forge the particular interactions in terms of science and education. I feel, because I'm a British citizen as well, I feel that I belong to the both worlds, and perhaps that's a good position, maybe not a very easy one, but really a very privileged one, I would say. So my former alma mater, which I consider University of Westminster to be to the great extent, and now the University of Georgia, where I had the Institute of Immunology and Medical, the therapies. So we will try to set up and to continue this collaboration as much as we could, and I think that and I hope that will be successful. I thank everyone, starting with Andrew, who was very supportive throughout his 9 years at the University of Westminster, and of our collaboration, of our development. I would like to thank Alistair, although we only worked together for maybe a couple of years, but it was really very, very, very pleasant, and he's a very supportive person, and we hope that all works out very well for our collaboration. And of course, with my friends Ian and Peter Lydiard. So in terms of this particular, I'm leading the round table, so I'll speak a little bit more about Georgians working abroad. But at the moment, I only want to again thank the Georgians at the Georgian Studies Day and the University of Westminster, University of Georgia, and hope that this is just a beginning of the great new avenue. Thank you.
Thank you, Nina. I must say, having this link has made it a bit easier for me, because I miss you not being here, but having this wonderful link is something that makes it a little bit easier.
I miss myself not being there.
Oh, so I need to ask if Roland Danreuther is here because he wasn't sure if he could be. Are you here? No. I'm sure he will appear later. Let's see. Yes, we're in time. I have the great honor of introducing our first panel that is going to be moderated by Maya Adamia Griffin. Are you there, Maya?
Yes, 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 yes.
There you are. I can see you there. Yes, good.
Yes.
I met you many, many years ago, and it's lovely to rediscover you because we didn't know exactly where you were. She graduated from Tbilisi State Conservatoire piano faculty under Manana Doidashvili, and she moved to England and completed a master's degree in performance and related studies at Goldsmiths. She acted as secretary of the jury for the Georgian International Piano Competition, from 2005 until 2017. That's a long haul. And she worked as head of piano at Milton Keynes Music Service until 2014. And for the last 11 years has been working at Stowe, which is a renowned private school. And I think if there's anything you'd like to add, you will, but I hand over to you as moderator.
Okay, thank you very much. Thank you for inviting me. And as far as I know, it's the first time when you invited musicians, and it's a new addition to your conference. It's very, very important that we kind of make a case for Georgian musicians. Today on our panel, we've got 5 musicians, and first one will be Professor Josef Jordania, who lives in Australia. He's also honorary a fellow at Melbourne Conservatoire, and he's in charge of ethnomusicology at the Melbourne Conservatoire. So I would like to give my word to Mr. Josef Jordanian. It's 10 minutes for each participant.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much. Now, I need to share my...
I think you can do that, Hannah. I think you're trying to get the screen share.
Yeah.
Are we getting there?
Wait a minute. I want this one. Do you see my screen?
Not yet, I'm afraid. I don't know if Hannah can intervene. There's nothing I can do at myself this end.
But we can hear him very well, so if you...
We can, yes, that's true.
Yeah.
Ah.
Can you see my presentation text?
Yes, now we can, yes.
Okay, good. As I have Parkinson's, sorry, I will need to read with the help of computer. So here it is, 10 minutes.
25 years in Australia, the journey of a Georgian ethnomusicologist. My warm thanks to the organizers of this Georgian Day conference, and especially to Tamara Dragads, whom I first met in Chicago back in the last century. Tamara is doing a wonderful job keeping Georgians abroad connected to each other and to our beloved motherland. I have to start. First of all, I'm sorry that I can't read this text myself. Because of my Parkinson's, speaking fluently has become difficult, but I'll do my best to answer your questions later, maybe with a little help from Nino. And my second apology is for the mistaken title. It should be 30 years in Australia, not 25. And funnily enough, today, November 5th, is exactly 30 years since we arrived in Melbourne back in 1995. Now, Australia, well, it's about as far as you can go from Georgia or from anywhere in Europe. When my brother Nixar heard we were moving here, he told to me, geez, the only place further than Australia is the moon. And he wasn't wrong. Before coming, I had read quite a bit about this and thought I was ready, but once we got here, I quickly realized that reading about Australia and living in Australia are two completely different things. Here are just a few of the surprises for the visitors of Australia. Seasons are upside down. When it's summer in Europe, it's winter here, and vice versa. The sun is brutal, because of the thinner ozone layer and the closeness of the sun to our planet in January. You can get sunburned in 10 minutes, even on a cloudy day. Everything is far away. Driving from Sydney to Melbourne takes 9 hours by car. In Europe, that distance would take you through 4 or 5 countries. Nature is wild and enigmatic. Eucalyptus shed their bark, not leaves. Kangaroos hop down the road. Koalas sleep in trees, and birds sing loudly, sometimes even polyphonically. But yes, there are also big spiders, venomous snakes, and foxes, sometimes even in your backyard. Strange sporting passions. Australians love Australian rules football and cricket far more than soccer. All in all, Australia is one of the nicest, friendliest, and most stable countries in the world. For years, Melbourne was competing with Vienna for the title of most livable city in the world, though lately that title has slipped a bit to number 4. Even though I had read a lot about the country, the lifestyle change was huge. Before we got academic jobs, Nino and I taught private students in guitar and piano, and performed with the Georgian ensembles Golden Fleece and Gorani. We made many Australian musician friends, played at festivals, appeared on national radio and TV, toured the USA in 1997, and, of course, returned to Georgia many times after our long tour around the world in 1999. Now, about being an ethnomusicologist in Australia. It is quite different from being one in Georgia. Back home, being an ethnomusicologist is highly respected, and that's no surprise, given our world-famous Georgian polyphonic singing tradition. When we arrived, some Australian musicians already knew about Georgian singing. The ensemble Georgian Voices had toured here a few years earlier and left an unforgettable impression, so people were already curious and interested. During those first years, when I didn't yet have steady employment, I spent most of my days at university libraries. You can visit any library in Australia free of charge and photocopy whatever you needed, and for me, that was paradise. I've always felt most at home surrounded by books and ideas. And once again, it was the power of Georgian polyphony that opened the door to my first university job. I was invited to teach a Georgian song to a class of music students at the University of Melbourne. I remember teaching them the magnificent Elisa, and soon after, the head of ethnomusicology, Catherine Falk, invited me to lead the university ensemble Multiphonies. We had 25 wonderful students and sang polyphonic songs from all over the world, and even a few pop classics that I arranged. Later, the ensemble grew and became the World Music Choir. Students from other faculties were allowed to join, and the numbers exploded from 25 to about 400. During the COVID years, classes went online, which sadly took away that magical feeling of singing together. These days, as I'm retired from the university, Nino continues teaching the World Music Choir with a great success. Now, a few words about my academic work during these 30 years. When I arrived in Australia in 1995, I had already defended both my dissertations, published my first book on Georgian polyphony in 1989, was a professor at the Tbilisi State Conservatory, and a leading researcher at the Center of Mediterranean Studies at Tbilisi State University, with Rizmak Gordesiani. I took part also in organizing the international conferences on traditional polyphony in Tbilisi and Bornholm, 1984, 1986, 1988. In a sense, I was already a fully formed scholar. So, in those first years in Australia, I spent countless hours at the university library, reading hungrily across disciplines from psychology to neurology, from primatology to stuttering. Around the same time, in the late 1990s, a new miracle appeared. It was email. It completely revolutionized communication between scholars. I suddenly felt as if my academic world had opened up. It was heaven. Over these 30 years, I've written quite a few books, mostly about the origins of human music, cooperation, and evolution. Let me briefly mention a few that mean the most to me personally. Who asked the first question? 2006. This is my first major book in English. I explored how the act of asking questions changed human evolution, how curiosity, intelligence, and music are all connected. I proposed that our ancestors' group singing was a key step for developing language and thinking. Tigers, lions, and humans, the history of rivalry, conflict, reverence, and love. 2014. This book explores our long and complex relationship with big cats, creatures we both fear and admire. For millions of years, tigers and lions were our rivals, teachers, gods, and symbols. It's a mix of anthropology, mythology, and psychology, and one of my most personal works. Choral Singing in Human Culture and Evolution, 2015. This is a book very close to my heart. It combines my lifelong passion for Georgian and world polyphony with my interest in evolution. I argue that choral singing wasn't just art, it was a survival tool that helped early humans cooperate, calm fear, and form emotional unity. New Model of Human Evolution, 2017. In this book I tried to bring all my ideas together, about music, cooperation, altruism, warfare, and emotions, into one big picture. It's my attempt to understand human evolution not through bones and tools, but through sound and emotion. The Human Story Behind a Scientific Discovery, 2020. This is probably my most personal book, dedicated to the everyday life of scholars, both professional and amateurs, with all their hopes, fears, and problems. Why do people sing? 2011. This book was the request from a Japanese publisher, and it looks at perhaps the simplest but deepest question of all: why do humans sing? From lullabies and rituals to sports chants and protests, wherever people gather, they sing. It's our most natural expression of being human. If I had to sum up my life's work in one line, I'd say, I've spent my life trying to understand how we humans sang ourselves into humanity. As a result of these interests, I've been lucky to travel widely, to all five continents, for field work, conferences, and presentations. I realized my childhood dream of traveling around the world many times. Among the most memorable experiences were my 6 visits to India, researching the legacy of my childhood hero, the great writer and conservationist Jim Corbett. In 2023 I helped organize an international research center dedicated to his legacy at Robakic University, co-authored 2 volumes titled Behind Jim Corbett's Stories, and organized the International Conference Defense Strategies in Early Human Evolution. I also wrote a book of parallel biographies of my 2 great inspirations, Charles Darwin and Jim Corbett. In 2009, I unexpectedly received the highest international award in ethnomusicology, the Fumio Koizumi Prize. And in 2022, I was elected a foreign member of the Georgian Academy of Sciences. At the moment, I'm working, together with many international colleagues, on a project very dear to me. It is Polyphonia Mundi, the Encyclopedia of World Polyphony. When we left Georgia in 1995, we hoped that within a few years the situation in Georgia and the world would become more stable, and that we might return. But as time goes on, that hope feels more uncertain, as the world doesn't seem to be calming down anytime soon. Still, I believe that polyphony is one of the great unifying forces on our planet. It brings people together, across borders and differences. And I truly hope that Georgia, the homeland of the world's richest polyphonic traditions, can continue to be a shining example of how harmony, in music and in spirit, can bring the world closer together. Thank you.
So, thank you very much. Now I'll try to answer your questions after all the speakers finished. Thank you very much. Now, let me. Stop. Thank you.
We can't hear you.
Thank you.
I think yeah. I think your microphone is off. Maya, your microphone is off.
Hello.
Can you hear me?
Sorry, Maya, with the noises we were having, I muted everybody so that we could try and reduce those noises. Can you see the mic button at the top of the screen?
Yes.
It should be next to share and leave, and there should be a little mic icon with the word mic, M-I-C.
On.
Sorry, Joseph. Yes, there you go,
can
Maya.
You hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you now. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, did you hear the introduction of Nino?
No.
Our next speaker is Nino Tisishvili, who is wife of Yosef Jordania. She is an associated lecturer at the Melbourne University and teaching world music choir. Please, Nino, it's your turn. Hello?
Is she there?
Yes, yeah, I think
She's there,
I'm
but I don't know.
Yeah, definitely. It's not only my photo. Thank you. So, thank you very much for introducing me. I wasn't sure what I was gonna talk about because I didn't know about the topics of this meeting, but now I kind of understand more after all your introductions and Joseph's little talk presentation as well. So I have two positions at two universities now. That's Melbourne University, where I am an associate lecturer, but I also have a position, more casual position at Melbourne Polytechnic, where I also teach Georgian choir. I actually teach Georgian choir at Melbourne Polytechnic. But unfortunately, this program is closing soon. But it was an really first, I think it was the first course subject taught anywhere overseas dedicated fully to Georgian traditional music. And that lasted for 10 years. Do you hear me or?
We can hear you, but we can't see you. Maybe you would like to turn your camera on as well.
Camera, right. Okay. Yeah.
That's better.
Yeah, thank you. So 30 years already in Australia. Like I heard some of you were speaking about, being both in Georgia and in England, but that's not possible from Australia because it's so far away. So I almost don't have any professional ties with any Georgian universities at the moment. So quite, isolated in Australia. Of course, I have some professional ties, and I'm working on the project, which is Georgian history of Georgia in folk song. So that's a project I'm working on, but I don't really have any professional, official ties with Georgian University or conservatorium. And yes, leaving one's country of birth and relocating in a different country, different society, it has been quite challenging, but I am used to it now for during these 30 years already. There's several challenges, like as a scholar, as a professional, and as a person. Challenge one was probably we didn't have any Georgian community here. So there are some Georgians, but they are either living in very, remote areas far away from us, or we have very different interests. So we don't really have Georgian diaspora here, nothing. Challenge number two would be probably professional career. When I came here, it was quite a big shock, confusion, because there were completely different research interests when I started my master's program at Monash University, and then I also did PhD at the university in Melbourne here. It was quite different, so I had to completely switch my interests. Like I was working more on historical studies in Georgian ethnomusicology, archaeological, interests. I had a lot of archaeological interests, linking musical material with archaeology. But when I moved to Australia, I had to completely change my topic. So I started working on gender and music, nationalism. But I think it's while it's very difficult and challenging, if you stick to your passions, then you gradually develop and arrive and go back to your passion. So I started like working on gender. I published a book on gender and music in Georgia. It was quite new actually, because no one worked on gender as a critical category in Georgia before me. So that was quite interesting. But starting from 2012, I switched back to my more historical and evolutionary interests. So it was that time when I published my articles and books about the origins of sexual behavior and love song. So I want to share maybe one Cambridge scholars. Let me. Okay, so that's my more recent book. I'll share. How do I share? Share. Okay, here. Screen window. I'm kind of used to Zoom, so I'm not sure.
It's the top right.
Yeah, I see share, but it tells me share content, and then there's screen window or tab, and I'm pressing and
I would try window, because then you can choose which program you're sharing. So if you click window, it'll show you all the different things you have open on your computer, and you can choose which one to share.
yeah, for some reason it's kind of stuck there. Share this window. Okay, I'll share this window and then go to different ones. Like this one, can you see this one or?
No.
It's just showing us your teams.
My what?
Sorry, it's just showing us the meeting, your view of the meeting.
Yeah, that's interesting. Hang on.
If you try sharing screen rather than window, you should be able to do that, what you're trying to do, I think.
Screen. Okay, I'll start again. Share,
Yeah.
and it can screen, window, or tab. Allow to share window, maybe.
If you press screen, it'll just show us anything that you look at.
Okay.
You need to open your file first. The file needs to be opened, and then you share the screen, and you can show the opened file. But the file needs to be opened in your window.
Yeah, it is open.
Okay.
Mhm.
Yes, now we can see what you're
Yeah.
navigating to.
Oh yeah, we saw it. It's gone again.
We saw it,
Okay.
and then it's gone.
So now, can you see now?
No.
Yeah, I don't know. It's something strange.
Do you want to
We
open the
saw
thing
it
that
for
you're
a
trying to?
second.
If you
And-
open the thing that you're trying to show us,
Yeah, it's open. I see it, and
right?
then I
Okay.
go to our meeting, and it's actually sharing. So I'm not
Yes.
sure
So
what is sharing.
sorry. So if you go to the document you're trying to show us or the page you're trying to show us, sorry, it was just showing us the meeting because that was what you could see.
Yeah. Share the. So it's better to share the screen.
I think so. Yes.
Yeah.
Okay,
I think we might have
Doesn't
carry
matter.
on with
Let's-
us? Yeah, yes,
it's-
because the time is tight.
Yeah.
Bye.
All right. I can't even
Could you
get
finish?
out of. Can't share. Stop share. Can't even stop sharing.
It's all right. We
You
can
have
hear
stopped
you,
sharing.
so we
cancelled.
can.
Yeah. So yeah, I think we are out of time now.
Yeah.
So
Yes, we will be soon. Yes. If you could shortly tell us about what's current situation and
yeah, the current situation is that I'm teaching world music choir. It's very successful. A lot of students, around 100 students are involved, and it's very, very successful. I also taught Georgian music to music students. They are very talented music students, like jazz, pop, whatever, a lot of different styles they are learning, and they are using Georgian music now in their own compositions. And that's another thing I wanted to share, but I don't think it's happening now. Yeah, for some reason I can't share it. I was able to share, to help Joseph to share, but myself I couldn't. So
not to worry. Not to worry. Thank you very much for your
yeah,
lecture.
thank you.
Thank you. Now,
Take
our
care.
next speaker is Teona Lomsadze, who did her PhD at the Conservatory of Tbilisi. She also did music management at Leeds. At the moment, she is Georgian representative at the International Center for Traditional Music and Dance, and also teaches choir, Georgian choir at the LCO, London, University College London. Teona, are you here?
Hello, thank you so much for inviting. Do you hear my voice?
Yes.
Yes, wonderful. Thank you for inviting me to this forum, and it is a really symbolic for me to be presenting in the same panel as Joseph and Nino, my very important colleagues and mentors. And I'll say that my international career was kickstarted by Joseph being my supervisor on a master degree level, and absolutely shifting my mind from, let's say, Georgian-based ethnomusicological approaches and methodology to the international Western-based ones. Joseph, I remember that we needed to have our classes, let's say, online, because, as you know, he's based in Melbourne. But first time when we met in person, and when we had our lessons or meetings, professional meetings regarding my master's thesis in person, was in Swaneti. where he brought Melbourne Georgian choir members who were in Georgia to take part in the International Symposium for Traditional Polyphony, hosted by International Research Center for Traditional Polyphony of the Tbilisi Conservatoire every 2 years, and it still goes on. And in Svaneti, I was invited by Joseph. He said that this will be a perfect opportunity for us to work together, and maybe you can help in translation. So back as a student who didn't have any international background, professional background, and our work basically was in between, in the windows of between the like singing sessions with the famous songmaster Islam Pilpani. And even in those meetings, Joseph was highly encouraging my very, let's say, like a shy idea back then that maybe I could research social applications of traditional music in a contemporary Georgian life. And he was super supportive, even though this topic wouldn't be probably accepted by majority of Georgian ethnomusicologists back then, just because of being kind of out of traditional topics. And actually, this Svaneti experience was crucial for me because I was, for the first time, I felt being part of the international singing community, which then I've tried to maintain contact with and broaden the circle and so on. And I still collaborate with many of these people. They are dear friends of mine in different countries. And at the moment, if I try to generalize kind of main purpose for me, my professional purpose, it's for sure internationalization of Georgian traditional music. And I've tried to, so this is basically kind of central theme running throughout my career. And I've tried to address this topic from different channels. Me as an ethnomusicologist, as a music manager, as an educator, and as a performer, as a singer. And if I start talking about my role as an ethnomusicologist in this regard, already from my PhD, I've tried to research so-called music revival process. And this term, this concept was not present in Georgian ethnomusicology before and wasn't like deeply researched. So I've tried to map all traditional music and its related genres, which are present in the contemporary Georgia, and to focus on so-called folk fusion, which is a mixture of Georgian traditional music and contemporary music styles. And one of the conclusions from my PhD, which I still agree with, was that folk fusion, because of being rooted in a traditional music, but being shaped with the contemporary musical like elements, can be one of the best ways, musical ways of representing Georgia abroad. And at the same time, it can help and play a role of intermediate between Georgian youth and ethnomusicologists or traditional music lovers in Georgia, because as majority of you know and are familiar with, sometimes this notion of folk music is perceived as something very old-fashioned, right, among youth. If I talk what was the most important and influential during this career for me, was definitely my circle, like my scholarly circle, my international circle, and expanding this network as much as possible possible. And different, I was lucky, definitely very lucky, born and grew up in Georgia, and back then we didn't have that much funding opportunities either. I was lucky to have a chance to do a semester in Estonian Academy of Music and Theatre during my PhD, another semester to University of Aveiro in Portugal, to do research visits with the support of Shotaro Stavely National Science Foundation of Georgia in different well-known universities such as King's College London, University of Manchester, UCLA, CUNY in US, University of Illinois, where I was, and University of Melbourne. The latest one was Nino Tsitsishvili. And I was lucky person to have a chance to collaborate with the famous, probably the most famous ethnomusicologist of all time, Bruno Nettel, in University of Illinois. It was his late years. I was probably the latest young students he had, and I've learned so much from him, but I would probably emphasize work ethic he had, even though his health condition wasn't great back then. I can endlessly talk about the subject, but practical, for me, practical results out of this expanded and big professional network was for sure initiating or taking part in international collaborative research projects. And for instance, collection of articles, which was compiled by me through UNESCO grant under as an employee of the International Research Center for Traditional Polyphony at the Tbilisi Conservatoire. I could connect with my mentor in University of Aveiro, one of the mentors in Estonian Music and Dance Academy, and other institutions I had collaborated. I had some contacts with through maybe international conferences and so on, and to gather scholars who wrote articles for this volume named as Women's Role in European Traditional Singing Practices. And I tried to disseminate my knowledge about Georgian music through different channels or activities such as guest lecturing, and I was guest lecturer at UCLA, King's College of London, Trinity Laban Conservatory, London, Royal Holloway, University of London, and so on, as well as I was invited to give some workshops, practical singing workshops in different singing communities abroad, mostly in the UK. And I would say that UK was and is central still in my international career, and I'm super grateful of this country and the opportunities given to me. First, in 2021, just to have more practical skills and abilities to operate with my scientific knowledge towards the goal of working for the internationalization of Georgian music, I've started my master's in Leeds in music management, and I was funded by International Education Center of Georgia, which was recently closed, and it's really devastating news for me and for many young Georgian professionals who've benefited from this wonderful program. And another great chance I was given from the University of Oxford as a postdoc on Georgian program, which was funded. My postdoc was funded again by Shotaro Stavely National Science Foundation of Georgia. Also, as a postdoc, I was chosen by the jury of St. Anthony's College professionals. And I will just complete here.
Yeah.
Yes, I will complete. So basically, this postdoc gave chance to me to start researching the main topic from internationalization of Georgian music and its presence in the UK in depth. And for a conclusion, I would just say that in current political circumstances and in a danger of losing our connections with Europe in many aspects, I see even more importance of increasing international awareness in Georgian music and culture in general, and in every way possible, by our articles, workshops, projects, concerts, or even just personal conversations. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Our next speaker is husband of Teona, who is Sandro Shah. He's a young musician and jazz player who is trying to integrate, very interested in obviously Georgian folk music, and is trying to integrate our traditional music with jazz and so spread Georgian music this way in the West. So Sandro. Hello?
Hello. Can you hear me?
Hello. Yes.
Cool. Hello. I'm
Hello,
Sandro. And
nice to meet you.
yeah, nice to meet you. And thank you for inviting me. I noticed on the program it says ethnomusicologist, which is very flattering, but I'm
No,
a humble
it doesn't
musician.
say on mine.
Yeah,
Don't
yeah.
worry.
So I'm not, a scholar or ethnomusicologist kind of by trade. I'm a practitioner. I'm a musician and performer. But I've had kind of a recent interest in kind of an academic format to some of the ideas that I've been working on with regards to Georgian traditional music, and potentially maybe kind of talking about that might be of some use still. So just for a brief introduction, I was born in the UK. My parents immigrated from Georgia in the 90s. The 1990s, to be more specific. And so, my first words, the first kind of sentences that I was forming would have been in Georgian. But, of course, as I started going to school, my English started to take over and Georgian fell behind. And it wasn't until the later years of my school education, that I started to kind of embrace my Georgian identity, making a conscious effort to speak, to read, to write, as well as familiarize myself with the musical tradition. And particularly when I started at Conservatoire, when I was exposed to quite a breadth of different approaches and philosophies towards music, my eyes were opened to a lot more wider possibilities with regards to the kind of things that you could incorporate in your music, and how I could potentially embrace my heritage within my musical sound, composition, improvisation, etc. So this was quite an appealing thing, because when I'm at home, for example, I'm speaking in Georgian with my parents, and then in England, I'm basically I'm Georgian in England, but I'm English in Georgia. So there's this dual identity thing going on, and at this point in my music, there was a limited reflection of that within my compositions and language. So when I started making more of a conscious effort to embrace it, it somehow started to take more of an academic form. And there's a couple of reasons to this. And mainly it's due to the fact that being in the UK, not having access to a teacher of the tradition, as well as not being able to just learn by practice, by, singing at the Supra or whatever. A lot of the information regarding Georgian traditional music that was accessible to me had this academic format. So, there's two sides of it, because part of it is this large amount of archival old recordings mainly from the first half of the 20th century that were particularly important to me. And alongside that, there's all this academic literature that I started familiarizing myself with in order to understand the musical tradition on a deeper level, to be able to embrace it properly. And as I started reading this academic literature with regards to Georgian music, it led me on to broader academic literature in ethnomusicology. And slowly I kind of started approaching study as a musician in somewhat of an academic format, a research format, and formatting some of the ideas that I was having in a academic way. I was partially encouraged by Teona because I wasn't really aware that anything that I could have to offer on Georgian music would be of value, but she kind of encouraged me to take part in the International Symposium of Traditional Polyphony in Tbilisi. And I did that, and since then, I've been getting deeper into this academic world. I've done the Society of Music Analysis annual conference in Manchester. Recently, I did a British Form of Ethnomusicology conference in London, as well as some smaller scale ones in Oxford. And I'm predominantly a practice-based researcher, so I research Georgian music mainly through the guise of my own practice, and with the main priority and aim of practical implementation of the ideas I have. So, as opposed to being purely practical, an exponent of my deep study became academic contexts. So, looking at Georgian music from an academic lens completely transformed my aims, as well as just my musical practice. And it became quite a kind of sacred part of my life, really, this tradition, and particularly these old recordings. And now, Teo mentioned a large aim of hers, the largest aim of hers being internationalization of Georgian music. And mine is almost the same, but somehow it's got a different emphasis in that, for me, it feels like Georgian music is so popular abroad. There's, over 10 choirs in the UK of non-Georgians singing Georgian music. There's choirs across Europe and America and Australia, of course. Whereas the youth in Georgia are quite disconnected from their own traditional music for the most part. And there is this association that often comes with it of, it being quite conservative and old-fashioned, and the people who perform it being quite traditional, and they stand on stage in their chochas, immaculate posture and clapping like this in a very reserved way. And and I think it's a misinterpretation, it's a misrepresentation of what Georgian traditional music really is at its core. And there's a lot of historical context behind this, of how these practices came into Georgian traditional music and how it became this very standardized, reserved art form. And a lot of it's to do with kind of Soviet time standardization and alteration of musical repertoire and tuning system, as well as the main thing just being creativity and improvisation. So that was discouraged, and it was made impractical during the Soviet Union. And now we're left with this musical tradition that seems to be more about preservation and conservatism than actually it being an alive, breathing, renewing tradition. So part of my my main goals in my career, which has come through this academic route in a sense, is dedicating myself to Georgian music in that sense, internationalization, or bringing it home. I kind of find that I've got a unique position growing up in the UK, got unique opportunities to be able to contribute to that. And in particular, for example, to elaborate on the creativity thing I mentioned, how creativity in the Georgian traditional music scene somehow feels quite neglected and discarded. For me, growing up in the UK, I always felt like creativity was rewarded and encouraged. People used creativity and thinking outside the box as a compliment to talk about someone else. Whereas from everything I've heard from my parents, from Teo, it's not that simple in Georgia. There's this very hierarchical structure within academia that means that young people, young scholars, have a lot more repercussions, negative repercussions, when they try to just do something new and go off on their own. And being conscious of that privilege that I've grown up with, it's almost become a responsibility to use that to contribute somehow to this musical tradition and reviving its spirit and its popularity and its recognition amongst the youth in Georgia. So yeah, just to conclude, maybe it's slightly funny that I'm in this conference because it's about Georgian scholars come abroad in international context coming from Georgia, whereas in a sense I'm the opposite. I started abroad elsewhere, and due to the things I discussed above, I'm ever more returning to Georgia in spirit and in song. Thank you. Yeah.
Oh, thank you so much. Such an interesting lecture, because absolutely right. I think you put the finger on problems that are from remains of Soviet perfectionism and actual creativity. And I can't not mention my dear friend who is not with us anymore, Edisha Garaganidze, who going, I don't know, through remote villages everywhere where he wanted to collect all this music as its form, as it was then. And yes, thank you so much for this lecture. It's very interesting. Now, and our last speaker will be young pianist Salome Jordania, whose success on international stage is so big that I think it will be best if she talks about it. And I can't not mention about huge international careers of young pianists from Georgia, like Gigi Gigashvili, David Hrikuli, Sandro Gegechkori, Sandro Nebieridze, and one of them, Lucas Okros, who is in UK, and he's managing the Bernstein Hall. So please, Salome, if you are here, join us. Hello?
Hello?
Hello? Salome?
Hello?
Hello? Can you hear us?
Hello?
Yes, we can hear you.
For some reason, I couldn't turn on my camera, but let me try it 1 second. I'm so sorry.
We lost Eka Khacharava. She couldn't come.
No, we haven't got. Yes, it's Salome. We are.
Okay, so we are
trying
skipping
to connect. Yes.
Eka. Okay, she can't come.
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
Just 1 second. Sorry. I think it's better if I connect with camera. For some reason, it doesn't allow me to turn on the camera. Let me disconnect and reconnect.
Hannah, is there particular difficulty there?
It's not to do with our settings because I've changed all of those. It sounds like it might be an issue with her and.
Hello. Hello, we
Hi.
can see you now. Hello.
Hi. Thank you so much for inviting me to this panel. I'm really honored to hear all the stories and all these really important people that I really admire. And I just wanted to tell my life story quite briefly as much as I can. I'm a concert pianist. I've lived abroad for 10 years now, but I grew up in Georgia, and I wanted to say a few words. Now I'm based in UK, but I wanted to say a few words of how I got here and what my life has been like. And I was not planning to talk about my childhood, but I think it's important just to say a few words of how it was in Georgia, because I think it really built a strong foundation for me to then navigate this professional life and quite difficult life of being a musician. Because just to say a few words, it requires a lot of discipline and hard work from childhood on, and strong commitment and stable nervous system and all of that. So I think I just wanted to say a few words that I grew up in a family of musicians. I was exposed to music from early on in Georgia because my father is a conductor. And one of the biggest important people in my life is actually my teacher from Georgia, Natalia Natsrushvili, who really built me and raised me not just a good player, but also a really well-rounded human. And this is important because I really later discovered of what I was being taught in the US is what she already instilled in me early on. We talked about other art forms, we talked about literature, visual arts, anything, philosophy, spirituality in music, and she kind of prepared me for the life that I was about to have. But in Georgia, I had lots of concerts, maybe 2 concerts a week, which is really unheard of in other countries. And I had my first solo recital at 8, then I traveled abroad first time when I was 9 for a concert. Won some competitions, national, international. I had my first tour in Germany at 12, and my first US tour when I was 13. And actually that is what sparked my interest in later continuing my life in the US and studying there. Another important thing that I had as a child was that I recorded my first CD with Naxos label in Paris. And that is also another full circle moment, because actually this year is when I recorded my actual professional, as a grown adult, my first CD in Paris as well, with a French label, which will come out next year. And I cannot wait to share with everyone. So anyway, as an 18-year-old, I moved to study abroad. I first studied at Juilliard, and then I studied at Yale for my master's. And obviously it was a big challenge because I actually grew up with German language. I didn't know English as well. So that was a big barrier for me to actually study at such a high level academic curriculum and not know the language in a good way that I needed. It was a cultural shock. And in both of these universities, I was always the only Georgian there. And that has been a big challenge because I felt like the minority of minorities in every space. Even though we have lots of Georgians in New York, I still felt a big pressure and responsibility to always represent my country as much as I could in these places. And at Juilliard, one of the challenges was that we had to learn not just how to play. We had lots of classes. We had they were really building us to be a complete artist. And I think that is not something that we, honestly, even then they couldn't prepare for what was to come for us, because nowadays it's not just to play music. You have to know how to navigate social media, how to navigate public opinion, how to be a good public speaker, and kind of a good citizen, because I think artists nowadays have that platform. And we learned the power of music. We had politics, we had languages, we learned philosophy, and that launched me to the next step, which was Yale, which was kind of a turning point for just being a student and actually being a traveling musician. And I was lucky enough to win some competitions during that time, 2021 and onwards. And one of the big ones was that I became a New York concert artist, which meant that I had several recitals, one of them being in Berlin Philharmonic, which is a big dream come true for any musician. And even though all throughout these years I was trying to keep my connection with Georgia, I would come and play concerts, I always felt like I wanted to contribute more and I wanted to have more connections with Georgia. And only this year is when I started actually going towards that goal. And I will share about that later, but I just wanted to say a few words of my life in the last few years. Because of these competitions, I decided to be based in Europe and not having to travel from the US because as you know, it's a lot. It's even being in UK, I'm not always here because I have commitments outside of the UK. But some of the highlights from the last few years that I have achieved is I played at Yamaha Hall in Tokyo, I played at Concertgebouw and Wigmore Hall, and obviously it's a very emotionally demanding job, and it's also, you have to be quite strategic, and networking and PR is probably more important than ever, and this is not something that we are prepared for. It's an unstable job, it's quite unpredictable, and you have to, and it's extremely political as well, and you have to really develop a thick skin to navigate throughout these challenges and not to take things too personally. And anyway, this last few years, I've been traveling quite a bit, and being in UK as well has been a challenge because I moved from the US and all my contacts and all my resources have been there, and suddenly to move to another country, even though we share the language, it's still a challenge to connect. And I was really welcomed with Georgian community here, and I would say Georgian community here is stronger than ever, and where I've seen outside. And I think just a few words about my upcoming project is that I actually wanted to share a little bit of short video of me playing, but because of the time constraint, I would rather, if anyone is in London, invite you to my concert on the 26th of November at Cardigan Hall. I will be playing with an orchestra there. If anyone is in London, I would love to see you there. But just few projects that I'm very excited about this year connecting to Georgia is alongside of my CD that I recorded, I actually had a journalist from France who was interested in our country, and he actually heard me in one of the competitions that I was a winner of year before, and he wanted to do a short documentary. And I thought that instead of them coming to UK, it would be better if they came to Georgia and to film me there, to see what's going on. Some of it was political because that was what's going on in Georgia right now, and I think it's impossible to avoid that. But we were talking about in this documentary of how much we have to say as artists, and how closely I feel to my country, and how passionate I am about my country doing well in all sorts. Another two really important projects that I have next year is that, first of all, I have some concerts coming up in Georgia where I will be premiering my CD, but also we finally came up with this idea. We are actually for the first time recording some of the Georgian composers' concertos in a CD that haven't been recorded before, and that will release in a year. And we also are collectively, some of the leading pianists in Georgia are recording each one piece of Georgian composers, some well-known, some less known. And I think the emphasis is on the composers that are less known, but also have never been recorded. And that CD will also be recorded next year. And this few things that I've been doing last year has made me feel very proud to be Georgian. And I wanted to share Georgian music more than ever to larger audiences. Yeah, that's just a few things of my life. Sorry, I'm really fast. I tried to squeeze everything.
Thank you so much. Thank you. Now, it's time for discussion. Any questions? Yes. Hello? Can you hear me? I can't hear you anymore.
I have a question. I put my hand up.
Oh, thank you.
Okay. Well, it's a question from an immunologist, so therefore it will be utterly unprofessional for the whole group, really. But we ethne in musical group in particular, because the first thing on my arrival to the UK, I was really surprised with was that my friend and Peter Lydiard's friend Viv Williams put on the Welsh choir. And I was absolutely sure, although I couldn't distinguish the words, but I was absolutely sure that they put, because to honor me, they put on the Georgian choir. So I'm just interested whether there is really, or it's just a polyphonic means polyphonic, and that's a resemblance, or there are some links between Welsh polyphonics and Georgian polyphonics. Just interested. I've been interested for a long time to hear the answer.
Yeah. Well, probably it's an answer from ethnomusicologists. Yes,
I will
but
try to answer that. Basically, all the polyphonies of the world are interconnected. And particularly if you take the European tradition, they are also connected, of course. But you know, in linguistics, they cannot go very far in history, in the prehistory. Linguistics can go into the history of about 3,000 years. In music, you can go for much longer. 15, 20, 25,000 years, maybe possibly more. But polyphony, by its origins, is so ancient, and the connections of Georgian polyphony with the polyphony of the first inhabitants of Europe is very ancient. So yes, it is. There are some connections, and even the most ancient tradition, which is using drones and dissonant seconds, is similar for the oldest traditions of polyphony in the Balkans, in Italy, in Spain, in North Europe. Even Vikings were singing this kind of polyphony. So yes, it's very difficult to find exactly between Georgia and Wales. But let's say that all the ancient traditions of polyphony of Europe are connected. Yes, at least I think so.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
More questions? Okay.
We have 5 minutes break instead of 15 because we've overrun it.
Yes.
And
well,
if there's, can I thank you so much? You've been a wonderful moderator, and
thank you.
all our thanks to you.
It was very generous.
Yes. Now we're supposed to start in 5 minutes. Our second section. We were supposed to have a 15-minute break, but it might be, if that's okay with everybody, that we quickly rush in 5 minutes, do whatever our body calls us to do, and perhaps grab a cup of coffee or something. But could we then come back? I've brought out the pink clock.
Yes.
Oh, it's upside down, but anyway.
No, it's good.
Okay. So in fact, it says 3 minutes, but if we could come back in 5, is that okay with you, Nina? Because you are moderating the next one.
Absolutely fine.
Yes.
I don't need any
we'll
break.
meet
I'm just waiting
at
here.
10:48.
Okay. Yeah.
Okay. And
Can I
thank you.
say
It was
something?
wonderful.
Thank you. Very interesting.
Sorry?
Nina would like to say something.
No, I just wanted to say it's almost 10 o'clock at night at our end of the world. So
What about you have the lentil? What about this one? Which mashed potato? Well, the other thing that needs using, I think, because we've opened it, is the
Oh, sorry.
Ah, yeah. Okay. Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you very much.
So 48.
The
Yeah,
next participant of my group is already ready. You see, that's the difference between scientists and musicians.
Okay.
Hello, do you hear me? I'm sorry, just to check. I'm sharing my screen.
No, it's okay. You are the next one, so you are absolutely right to share.
Yeah, so do you see my screen? Yes.
Yes, we can see it.
Very good. Okay, okay. Let's stop. Or let's leave it.
We'll wait for people to come back.
Okay, good.
Tamara, shall we start? Tamara?
I'm here.
Okay, shall we start?
We've got this Georgian teachers program at CERN up. Is that?
Yes, but before that, I knew that Peter Lydiard would like, because he's a monitor of the round table with me, and he would like to say a couple of words. So shall we ask Peter?
Can't see him.
Peter?
And also we have this Georgian teachers program screen up. Is that done specially for Peter? What we have is we can see you and Maya, and Batuni Irakli and yourself. And then we've got this Georgian teachers program at CERN, which is Irakli Minashvili's screen.
Yeah,
and
not to worry. I will do it now because I think, yeah.
Not a problem. Let's wait.
Okay, go.
Oh, Peter is here. Yeah. Okay, so it is my pleasure to ask Peter Lydiard to say a couple of introductory words to our panel, as he planned to do.
Okay, so good morning to those who are in the UK, afternoon in Georgia, evening in Australia, etc. And as suggested by Nina Porakashvili, I wanted to quickly give you a history of my association with Georgia, which is now some years actually. So some of you will already know my story, at least some of it. It all began in September 1995 when Nina Porakashvili arrived on a Royal Society travelling fellowship at Professor Ivan Reut's laboratory in UCL London. She came armed with a Tempest grant application, hoping that we would become collaborators. And indeed we could. I was acting head of the department at the time. We, that's Nina and I, applied for a one-year Tempest grant, and this led to success with several more grants later on, and these were some included Armenia, Azerbaijan, and Ukraine. My first visit to Georgia as part of the first grant was in April 1996, which was very cold. And I remember giving lectures and discussing teaching equipment in my gloves and in my hat and fully dressed. It seemed to be very cold in the building where I was. After the grants finished, which I think ended up with about 2017. Nina will correct me. I started to help Georgian universities with problem-based learning, a teaching method now required to be included in all medical course curricula in Georgia. I'm currently employed as a professor at UG online, University of Georgia online, with occasional country visits. And the idea again is to help with the development of both case and problem-based learning with an excellent committee run by Anam Rafiq. I'm also involved with research at University of Georgia, and now I will, well, this is now my current association with Georgia, and I will pass you over now to my friend and colleague of 30 years, to introduce the speakers of our theme. Nina.
Thank you very much, Peter. Just a couple of more words. First of all, Professor Pete Dels is here as well, present, who was who accompanied Peter, I think, to the on his second or the third visit to Georgia, maybe even the first one, and also experienced the severe cold conditions and severe conditions really in Georgia in the 1990s. Since then, we had several Georgian Studies Days, which were dominated by immunologists, not surprisingly, because as Ian Locke said himself, myself, Peter Lydiard, were all immunologists. And personally, when working at Tbilisi State University, I had about 20 successful PhD students who now are working all over the world. But interestingly, quite a lot of them are now coming back, as I did. So now I am in Georgia after this really exciting time spent at the University of Westminster. Now I am in Georgia at the University of Georgia, heading the Institute of Immunology and Molecular Therapy. And I would really like to introduce this university. And in fact, I wanted to make a comment to our musician friends who would like to have better links with Georgia, that's probably one of the universities where you can also find your interest in collaborating with. So University of Georgia. So therefore, now we decided that this time we kind of divert from immunology and hope to come back to it later on. And we have the range of really exciting presentations here today from people who are the leading scientists abroad from Georgia, I mean. And the first is Irakli Minashvili, Professor Irakli Minashvili. I tried to look into what his publication, and I couldn't understand a word because that's all the sense and the particles and physics. But as far as I know, if I'm not mistaken, Batoni Irakli was working with the Nodara Maglobeli, if I'm right.
Yes,
and one of the
supervisor
yes.
of the PhD of the program, yes.
Yes, and he is one of the people, really a scientist, and I would say this society, the person who we are very much proud of. Next to Irakli Minashvili about physics and Georgian teachers program at CERN.
Thank you very much, and thanks so much, so warm of a word about my professors, and there was really a good and a very high level school in nuclear and elementary particle physics in Georgia at the time, and hopefully so far we still are on this level, and you will see right now in my few slides afterwards. I hope my time is not over, yeah? Okay, I have 10 minutes. So I just want to say a few words to bring to your attention some of the activities which we are doing, myself and my Georgian colleagues at CERN, concerning of let's say a training program for teachers and as well high school of students. So just a few words about CERN. CERN is the biggest of laboratory institution over the world where we study fundamental physics, okay, which means we are trying to found constituents of a matter, the elementary particle, which are of basement of matter. So, and any other of relating of question in the fundamental physics. And on this laboratory, we have 25 of member state. You see on my slide. So, and that's laboratory is international, like it's a United Nation. We have our of a constitution. We have our budget. For example, this year we had a 1.2 billion of a Swiss franc the budget. Next year, I think we hope that will stay such or a little more. So, and all of this member state are contribute on this budget. So there is an institution in a laboratory as associated member states. We have this also we can see, and I just put here a non-member state. We Georgia not a member state, but Georgia contribute a very big effort and scientific of let's say a contribution in the two very big experiment in Atlas. I will tell you about that right now. Next slide. It is how we are finding that elementary particles and how we are beside them. Here is a huge of accelerator of complex at CERN, and the biggest one we are called Large Hadron Collider, where the particles we are accelerating almost the speed of a light. You know the speed of light. It's very big, 300,000 kilometers per second, and that is a maximum which we can reach. And then in this accelerator, we are accelerate a particle almost of light of a speed of light speed level. So that's because we need a high energy of a particles to collide it together and produce a new particles and understand what's happening in the during of this collision. And in the today we have a let's say 6.5 tera-electron-volt energy, but it's not don't care about that. And when this such a kind of energy of protons are colliding together, we are creating a almost same condition like it was during Big Bang. The Big Bang, which happened in 30.8 billion years ago. So that is we want to understand what happened during the Big Bang, and then we have 4 detectors here. So you see my mouse? I don't know which. Yeah. So that one is the Atlas, CMS, and the ALICE and the LHCb. That's 2 experiments, which is Atlas and the CMS. It's let's say a common purpose of experiments. If you are, it's almost the same research program on them, and if you found something new in one experiment, it helps. See same results in another experiment. It's therefore computer level to make a higher your results of it. So a Georgian team, which I'm leader here at CERN since already 10 years, or was Professor Jamal Khubwa. So we have around 50 physicists. But not only a research of a program. In research program, we are contributing our efforts. It's as well in parallel. We started to do a specific program for training teachers. Okay, Georgian teachers and the Georgian high school students. I mean, teachers are high school teachers, of course. just to show you one more slide to understand how it is big, this accelerator, and itself at CERN. It's situated on the border of Swiss and France. And you see the circuit, which is a red one. And there is accelerator, large Hadron accelerator, which is 100 meter underground and 27 kilometers of. So you see the airport and some of the structure on it. It's a very big of a accelerator, and hopefully we have a possibility, Georgian physicists, to work on. So now, why we are doing this program? I would like to say some words to inspire you also, like we are doing teachers. So the blocks of which we are using to construct matter has a very big history, and in the left side of my trend, you see how ancient of the philosophers are thinking that matter can be constructed by earth, air, fire, and water. Afterwards, chemistry comes on this of science and on the front of it, and there is a different of the sulfates, like salt, and the mercury was found it. They will try to do as well a gold. By the way, at CERN we are doing a gold as well, but not a gold exactly, the gold of a nuclear. One of the experiments. Afterwards, you see, it's at the beginning of last century, chemistry became powerful. I mean, science as well. So, and there was 105 more of atomic elements found it. And then we were thinking that's enough, that we can construct anything like that. But very soon we found the electrons and the protons as a particles. You know that any atoms is consist of nuclei, where is the proton inside and neutron, and around it's traveling electrons, it's the atoms. We know about that well. Afterwards, we found a lot of subatomic particles like hadrons and so. Don't care about the Maya of so names what we are mentioning. It's a specific one, and the very middle of let's say last century there was a predicted one of the theory. We right now we call the standard theory in physics. And they predicted the quarks inside of the protons and neutrons. And today, we know that almost, not almost, it's exact 12 of the particles we see here, quarks and the leptons of family. 12 particles can be used to construct everything around us. And there is the specific of the forces and the Higgs boson, which gives particles a mass, and joining all these forces to all these particles. And we found that this boson, which was predicted in 1964, we found on our experiments in 2012 that guys who physicists Englert and Higgs got a Nobel Prize. So now, there is a history, and what is that? We can say that's enough, and that okay, we can construct everything, but not. There is a big question. I put a question because it's not obviously that is we have stopping here because the science is full, and we are continue a search because there is a lot of another question. Not only this question is we don't know where is the antimatter where it's what that means black energy and the black of matter. So black hole almost not exactly know how it is a phenomenon of the black holes, but it's inside our visible of let's say visible of the galaxy and the world. But there is a 95% of the energy which was in the beginning of Big Bang, we cannot see right now. We see stars, we see galaxies, we see many things around, but it's not enough. As many of the 90% of the material is somewhere else. And we call that one dark energy, dark matter. And we have to understand that. So we need a young generation, we need a young scientists to help us to understand our of the universe better. So why we are doing CERN has a specific of a program of teachers. We are inviting of teachers from outside. I mean, it's mainly from member state of universities and the institution, and doing a training. But training is not a correct word. I think we are try to inspire, okay, in physics, and after that they have a more of a good possibility to bring that's they are of a meaning to the high school students. And then afterwards they will come probably in our orbit. So, and we're doing international program. We're doing the national program where we doing lectures and some of the handoffs of laboratory workshops in a native of language. And for Georgians, we are doing in Georgia. So program was established 1998 at CERN, and Georgians we joined this program 2011. So we already okay. I will respond this one. We first of we did 2011 and 2025. It's the last of the program, and even you can reach of on this of the program of timetable, and they see there is a starting 2011. All of the lectures is uploaded. It's archived, and there you can see what kind of lectures we are doing there. I'm not to do very details because time. So today, in the general and teacher programs, participated 5,500 of students in total, and the non-member state of countries also doing such a program. And if you see here in red square, I put Georgia, especially underlining. We already got here from Georgia, visited 232 high school teachers. Amazing. It's we are in the first place on this region. So non-member state, we are very well doing every year. So here is a table on the left side. You see, and if you go on its program, where it's the lectures. So it's a quite big amount. And who doing that program? So I put it here, our names, our colleagues who was participating, and they continue right now in both the people who is permanently here, and all of others are invited, or sometimes they are occasionally stay at CERN and they can do the job. So from beginning, from 2011 up to 2014 and 15, Gyad Wali was working with us, helping us because he was at CERN. Right now he went to that's because I say in a physics, that's one of the famous of Georgians at this moment. Pato Kaczylishvili, so which is from Lancaster University from Great Britain. He coming every year for participate in this program, and a lot of other people. There are two Iraq Minashvili, but it's a very young last one, and the very perspective person. And the first of the 14th of the place, there is Salupa Georgian, which is the next of a speaker. As well, he was starting working at CERN in the beginning, and afterwards he went to the industry or somewhere. He will say it was after. So everyone you see that a lot of Georgians are from outside, but I can tell you, all of them finished the University of State University of Georgia. Today, in my cluster, I am leader of scientists of from Georgia in Atlas. We have a University of Tbilisi State University with two institutions, Physics Institute and the High Energy Physics Institute, from where I am affiliated, and University of Georgia. They are joining us to us 2 years, and I am very happy that they are doing well. We are have a sea of young people from this university, and hope soon they will increase them these numbers. This university is relatively young and perspective, I say. So, in the left side, there is one of picture where I put it. I have the statistics from management. 2020, 2021, 22, there was pandemic, and we're not doing this statistics. But in 2020, there was at CERN with a Georgian passport. I mean, Georgians. We visited 54 physicists. Okay, 54 physicists is quite a big amount for so small country, and 37 of the physicists was from Georgia directly. All of others, 20 around, from all the world of university. So, what last of my let's say word, that is a last of let's say the teacher program of participants here. Everyone got a specific of a certificate. All that they pass the training in 1 week training, and always they are happy very much to visit here. But unfortunately, anyway, we have a problem to invite here young of a physicist. So sure, it's not easy to attract. I think over the world they have the same problem, but because Westminster University is one of the famous one in England, probably you will share with us how to implement young guys in help us to how to attract young guys to the fundamental of the research. They are starting well with us, but afterwards, many of them goes to the industry, like like George Salukwadze. But okay, it's not a tragedy, but we continue such. We will do our best. But really, we need the next generation around us. So it is my wishes to everyone who can help us. Um, we are open, and contact to me, or I will give you contact in Georgia. Please, please found around the good of a physicist, because it's like a music. In music, if you have not a talent, you cannot do it. The same here. Okay.
Yeah.
It is not specific. We need the talent of the persons around. You have to help us. Thank you.
Thank you very much. That was a very interesting presentation. And actually, I was surprised to see that on one of your slides that really the number of Georgians trained in CERN was actually equal to the number, yes, that's the one, of the physicists from other countries, European countries, compared to the non-member states. So it really stands out. And I'm sure that that's due to your help and due to your the efforts to do that. So thank you very much. And you almost introduced our next speaker. Again, I was trying to George Salukwadze, who was actually teaching on this program, but again, something really very interesting, like the web development, data visualization, and so on. I do have a couple of questions to both of you, but we will ask questions when we finish. I'm going to ask you about Batono Irakli, how the quantum can be in several places at the same time. So we'll talk about it later if we have time. So George Salukwadze, please, if you can stop sharing Batono Irakli, then we will see. Just yeah, thank you very much. So do we have George Salukwadze with us? Mr. George Salukwadze.
Yes,
yes.
Good afternoon. It's already afternoon here in Geneva. Let me see if I can share. I'm using a non-official app from.
So am I right to suggest that you have a certain interaction with AI?
Yes and no. Well, we recently started on it in our association. Yes. I have to apologize. I will have to reconnect, given that I'm not on Windows, so it will take me just a small moment.
Okay, all right.
I have everything else ready, so
yeah,
not
a problem.
Okay,
not
thank you.
Problem. I was going to ask Batono Irakli, what is the how a quantum can be at the same time in different places. I understand that where the place is fixed, actually it is due to the measurement. That's all right in a collider. But if we take someone's body, let's say, which is built up of quantums, definitely being in one place. So how does this work?
You know, that's a quantum theory and the quantum of a field. It's absolutely different than our life around. So it's absolutely different. That is one of the biggest problem for human. That's to join that's two fields together. It's impossible. Believe me, that's impossible. Quantum theory, quantum is working in a very, very small of a distance. So we say, can you make 10 minus of a 16, 10 minus 13,
okay,
all right. Okay, it's you cannot explain anything.
I understand now. Yes.
So like our method, like it's a huge of atoms and the nucleus in our body. So it's different. Okay, George.
Yeah. Thank you very much. You already answered my question. So, George Salukwadze, please.
Well, first of all, thank you for the invitation and for letting me speak here in the Georgian Studies Day. It's much appreciated. And before I start a short overview of my career, I would like to thank Irakli for mentioning Professor Jamal Hubla. And I would like to add a couple of words. Irakli replaced Professor Jamal Hubla as a Georgian team leader in Atlas experiment. But it is worth saying that it was Jamal who initiated the contacts between Georgia and CERN. And I mean, as Georgia as an independent state. Obviously, there were some Georgian scientists that were participating at CERN experiments during Soviet times, but it was as representatives of Soviet Union. So, in the first relations between Georgia as an independent state and CERN were actually established in 1993. So, even before the official launch of Atlas experiment. Well, or I would say not before, but practically at the same time. Well, now to tell you a little bit about my life. First of all, I am a web developer, so my relationship with particle and nuclear physics was that nearly everyone in the last 3 generations, so up to my grandparents, in my family, they were nuclear and particle physicists. So they were closely collaborating with CERN, and well, personally, I moved a lot around 3 countries, so between Georgia, Russia, and Switzerland, because I don't know if some of you are aware, but there is a joint institute for nuclear research in Dubna, which is in Moscow region, roughly 120 kilometers from Moscow. And I call it a Soviet response to CERN because it was opened 2 years after CERN in 1956. So my grandparents, they worked there, and when I was 6, so in 1996, we moved there. And I did my high school and first year of university in Dubna. And then after the war in 2008, I was in Georgia during the war. So I decided to stay in Georgia, and that's how I ended up at CERN in 2008. I was sent to CERN as a representative of Georgian team. But given that my specialization, so to say, was mostly in software or web development, I started as a software developer for Atlas tile colorimeter, which is one of the main parts of Atlas detector. And then I did, then I went back to Georgia to finish my bachelor's degree in computer science. And there I worked at National Agency of Public Registry, which is, let's say, an independent entity under Ministry of Justice of Georgia. And I worked as a programmer analyst. And then in 2012, I came back to Geneva to do my master's degree. And I continued my work at CERN as a full stack developer, and I worked on several different projects. I will highlight one of or several of them on the next slide. And then in 2018, I moved to another experiment at CERN, which was called Neutrino Platform. It was an experiment that, in the framework of which they constructed 2 prototypes for the detector of the particles called neutrino. This detector was part of the deep underground neutrino experiment that started in 2020 in US at Fermi National Laboratory. And to be fair and to be honest, I was actually the first Georgian in neutrino platform experiment at CERN. Then they extended the relationship with Georgian Technical University, and there are some participants in this experiment in the deep underground neutrino experiment. And in 2021, I moved to ID Lab, which is, well, actually it's a company that provides web development. there's a problem with my camera, I can see. Can you still hear me?
Yeah, we can see the presentation, but your image disappeared. Yeah, you are now back, but microphone is off. We can't hear you, I'm afraid. We can't hear you. George, we can't hear you.
It's strange. He's an IT expert.
That's what usually happens.
Can you hear me now?
Yes, yes, we can.
Okay,
yes.
that's great.
Yeah.
Well, being in IT, I am using beta versions of operating system, so which means that it's not a stable version. So there might be some bugs, and I do this explicitly in order to be able to report these bugs to the developers of this operating system. And I'm not using Windows; I'm using Linux because it's well, better optimized for development. And also because our servers are on Linux, so that allows me to develop applications.
So it is us who we are behind.
No, not at all. Not at all. It's just, yeah, there may be some bugs because I'm using a beta version of the operating system that will be released in April next year. So it's very early, at the very early stages currently. So yes. Well, I stopped at ID Lab, so it's a web development company that is based in Geneva, which provides web development services for their clients. And well, their clients include quite big corporations or organizations such as Industrial Services of Geneva, which is the only provider of electricity, water, gas, and so on in Geneva canton. But also the Geneva Parking Foundation. This is the foundation that manages all the parkings in the streets and some closed parkings as well. So it was a very interesting experience to work with them. But then in 2023, I moved to IoT Lab. IoT meaning Internet of Things. And the Internet of Things, it's a specific part of well, hardware and software, which is related to sensors. For instance, cameras or temperature sensors, humidity sensors, smart devices such as smart locks, smart, I don't know, movement, motion detectors, etc. And here I'm working as a researcher and project manager, and we participate in many different projects under Horizon Europe. Yes, under Horizon Europe. So we are mainly financed via Swiss Confederation right now because our well, the Switzerland and the European Union are discussing the renewal of their bilateral agreements. So for now, all the research funds from EU are frozen. But that's the difference between Switzerland and Georgia. Switzerland has enough budget to pick this like up in case the funding from EU gets frozen temporarily. So in any case, it's the Swiss government that is financing us right now. And just additional, let's say, point, I had some experience in different NGOs and currently a member of a political party as well. Well, such as Droni, for example, which was a youth association in Georgia, which focused on well, connecting different people from different countries, so EU and Eastern Partnership countries, we organized several different events on different topics. I was also a member of Georgian Youth Eco Movement, of a non-profit association here in Geneva, which is called Secondhand IT for Ukraine. We sent and delivered several dozens of secondhand laptops to teachers in Ukraine after the war started. And I'm also the member of the political party Le Centre, or the Center, which I believe best aligns with my political convictions. And so now I will highlight some of my main projects, my main achievements, and then I will also speak about AI in order to answer the question that was asked in the beginning. So at Atlas, I participated in the development of Atlas Expert System, which was basically a system that presented all the parts of Atlas detector in a sensible, human-readable way, and it was a simulator that would allow some, experts, physicists, to see what would happen if they turn off one of the elements. Then it evolved into something better. Now, there is an issue at CERN that when one of the experts leaves CERN, usually he takes his knowledge with him. So then everyone else who are left, if they don't know something, they have to chase down this expert and ask them about it. So that's how this idea was born. At Neutrino Platform, I participated in the development of monitoring web applications for NP02 and NP04 detectors, which were prototypes for deep underground neutrino experiment detector that I mentioned earlier. At ID Lab, I participated in the development of ECO21 toolkit, ECO21 being a state program in Canton of Geneva that that advertises ecological, let's say, advancements. So they give individuals and companies an opportunity to improve their ecological footprint by replacing their electrical devices, their heating, etc., and then they deliver a certificate. And they also give some bonuses or discounts in order to be able to do so. And another application that in the development of which I participated was called the Scan Control. It's an application that municipal police and parking foundation agents are using in order to check if the car owner has paid for their parking on the street. And in IoT Lab, this may be a part that might interest you. I am working on such projects as Europrivacy, Privacy Pact, and Universal Device Gateway. So Europrivacy and Privacy Pact are linked with each other, and this has to do with data privacy. In both cases, the first one is a unilateral pact, and the second one is a certificate, both stating that your company conforms with GDPR regulations, Article 46, related to the privacy during data storage or processing. And the Universal Device Gateway is a new, it's an old application that we're currently improving and renewing, which allows you to present data from different sources, such as I mentioned, IoT devices, for example, or even population data from Eurostat, satellite data from Copernicus satellites, and also adds a layer about data privacy. And this is a work in progress. We will have a very big presentation on January 28th. And if any of you would like to attend, I would be happy to discuss with my superiors at work, and we would be able to extend an invitation to you. And there are also some projects that are being, well, not developed, but negotiated and in a planning stage with one of the universities in Tbilisi. But given that I'm under an NDA, I'm not yet able to share any details about it. And well, these are my publication lists that I managed to participate in while I was working at CERN. Here you can see that Atlas Technical Coordination Expert System was published in 2019 after one of the conferences. And there are some publications as part of the Deep Underground Neutrino experiment, and two more recent publications in the framework of All Data for Green Deal project financed by Horizon Europe. Now, to answer your questions about AI, I did my master's degree in natural language processing, so I was already working on some of the AI models even before large language models appeared as we know them today. So I have more, maybe a bit more intricate knowledge on how these things work. And we are starting also to integrate AI into our projects in the form of the chatbot, for example, in the Universal Device Gateway, and also some other projects. But this is something that, yes, also there are some other projects that are scheduled to start next year, which are focused on AI as well.
Thank you very much, George. That was really interesting, and I mean, good luck with all these projects that you are involved with. We are actually thinking about because we have a long history of interaction with European programs, and yes, a new one. We would like to put forward a project on one of the leukemia diseases where we might need a app for prognostication, stratification of the patients. I wonder whether we can suggest to you the participation, whether you'll be interested.
Yes, I would be very much interested because, well, even though I didn't develop the applications, I did participate in BOINC projects. So BOINC is an application actually developed by Stanford, I think, yeah, that allows anybody, any willing participant, to share their computing power for some different tasks, such as calculation of results from Atlas, for example, Atlas experiment, or LHC, or different well, space exploration experiments, and also some yeah, there is a project which is called Folding at Home that actually works on simulating cancer treatment. And so this is also the way where you would be able to share your computing power with this project so that they can make their calculations.
Thank you very much. Yeah. That's really interesting. So we'll be in touch if you don't mind.
Yes, with pleasure. Yeah.
Thank you again. And we will have other questions at the end if we can, if we have time. So the next speaker is Dr. Theo Sharia, who is a mathematician. And I kind of glimpse something like Fourier, the equations and so on, which is again very far from what we are doing, but very interesting. Theo, are you here?
Yes, I'm here. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Oh, hello everyone. I'm delighted. Yep. You can hear me, right?
Yes. Yeah, we can hear you and we can see you.
Okay.
Fantastic.
So I'm delighted to be here, and thanks to organizers for making this event possible. So I'm going to start from the very beginning, how we ended up here in Britain. In fact, I'll be describing a journey of a Georgian couple because it all started with my husband, Eugene Shargorodsky, who is also from Georgia and is currently a professor of mathematics at King's College, University of London. Back then, in 90s, life in Georgia was, well, let's just say if you lived through it, you know what I mean. And Peter mentioned earlier today how cold it was, how cold he felt in Georgia then. And for me, one word sums it up. This word is darkness, both metaphorical as well as literal. And the only bright spots, obviously, apart from being young and in love, were our brief research visits to Germany, funded by German project Eugene was involved in. And during one of those visits, Eugene came across a job advertisement at University of Sussex. He was not actively looking for a job at the time, a job abroad, I mean, but it was brought to his attention by a colleague at Stuttgart University Eugene was visiting. This was a postdoctoral research fellow in mathematical statistics in Eugene's field. I mean, it was a postdoctoral research fellowship in mathematical analysis in Eugene's field. And for those unfamiliar with British academia, that's the first academic job after a PhD degree. Eugene applied and at that time, he was already a well-established and highly respected researcher in Georgia. However, he didn't get a job. He didn't get the job, and he wasn't even shortlisted. I still remember this feeling of disappointment reading the standard rejection letter. And we thought, of course we thought, they probably already had someone in mind, someone who they wanted to employ and couldn't do so without a process of formally advertising a position. And it was silly and naive, we thought, to think that an outsider can get a job like that. And it was waste of time and effort, we thought, to apply without having any connections. Well, we were both right and wrong. Later, we learned that the job was indeed intended for a specific person, an outstanding mathematician, by the way, who later became a very good friend of ours. What we were wrong about was thinking it was a waste of time to apply. And this brings me to the reason I wanted to share this story with you. It might be a useful lesson for any young researcher seeking a career in British academia. Here's what happened next. One of the members of the appointed committee told us this story later. Eugene's CV had been read by the panel members, obviously, who were experts in his field. And a year later, a similar postdoctoral fellowship opened at King's College London. While discussing possible candidates, that very same panel member said, "Oh, I remember there was an outstanding, well, interesting guy from Tbilisi." They managed to find Eugene's email address and wrote to him, asking if he would be interested in applying for the position. And what happened next is my favorite part of the story. So it was 90s Georgia. Emails didn't just arrive on your phone or on your laptop. They arrived on a single computer at the Institute of Mathematics, but only when both electricity and phone lines were working at the same time, which was not always the case. Quite often, a colleague would physically go to the internet provider in another part of the city with a floppy disk. I wonder if I wonder if the young people here, including the previous speaker, even know what that is, what a floppy disk is. He would download the messages into the disk and bring them back to the Institute of Mathematics to be printed out. All emails for everyone were printed on A4 sheets of paper, then cut into strips, so that each strip would contain a single message. These strips were then laid out on a table, on a big table in the admin office. And imagine today's data protection officers seeing that. I like to believe, by the way, that the colleagues tried not to read other people's messages while searching for their own. Anyway, Eugene's message ended up on the table while we were in Stuttgart. It could have stayed there uncollected for a whole month, but luckily, the person printing those messages realized that this particular email was very important and forwarded it to Eugene's temporary account in Stuttgart. The rest is history. So, lesson number 1 for young researchers. Don't be disheartened by unsuccessful applications. And lesson number 2, make sure you had a good relationship with people in the admin office. Okay, so we were here in Britain. Eugene has a job and I don't. I have several publications, some in good journals, but no job. My field is mathematical statistics, which is very different from Eugene's field of mathematical analysis. British academia at that time was going through a very interesting period. After the collapse of the Soviet Union, there were very tough years in Eastern Europe and Russia for everyone, but especially for academics. As a result, top-level researchers came and they flooded universities everywhere in the United States, Europe, and in Britain, obviously. And therefore, there was a large diaspora of Russian academics and their families in the UK at the time. And the common wisdom among them was that it was almost impossible for spouses to find a job in their field. And in academia, it was unheard of. A friend of ours, a lovely Russian lady, told me to get real. Oh, get real, you'll never find a job in academia, and so on. So the same sentiment came from others too. It was just Eugene. Eugene told me not to listen to them, and by the way, not quite so politely. And sometimes even husbands are right. So I did get a job, and quite soon after that. My first position was a postdoctoral research fellow, followed by a temporary lectureship at the London School of Economics. But my dad was not impressed. He thought his PhD holding daughter was working at a school. Well, eventually I got a permanent job at Royal Holloway, University of London, which sounded better, according to my dad. So I stayed there ever since. And in case you were wondering about that Russian lady, later she got a job in her field too. So again, the final lesson for young researchers: believe in yourself, don't listen to people who tell you otherwise, and most importantly, trust your partner at least sometimes. Thank you.
Thank you very much. That was really a very interesting story and very sincere and very useful indeed for people who are inspired to work elsewhere or even in their own country. So thank you very much for your nice outline of your family's journey to the UK, and I wish you all the best and all good luck and further development in this beautiful country. The next is Dr. Merab Lomia, who is a neurologist and drug safety physician. It's a little bit of a different area compared to physics, mathematics that we're talking about so far. So do we have Merab with us? Merab? No.
Hello, I'm here. Sorry. I have some problems with my microphone and camera as well. Just a moment.
Hello,
now,
Merab.
you can see me?
For a long while.
Can you see me?
We can't see you, but we can hear you.
Can you hear me? Yes, my camera is on. Oh, strange. Okay. Just a moment. Hello, everyone, and thank you. I appreciate your invitation. Thank you very much for that opportunity. And I can see here my friends as well. Hello, Tim Susan. And I would like to start from.
We can still not see you. Is it okay?
Can you hear me?
Yes, we can only hear you.
Oh, yes, but my camera is on. I don't know why you cannot see me because yeah, my camera is.
Is it flashing?
Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear, but not see.
Not see, straight, because I can see myself in my computer with my camera, and I switch on my camera in Telegram, but I don't know why. No idea. No idea. Sorry.
For those people who are concerned about their lunch, I know that this is absolutely true. We're running behind. Tamara hasn't used her clock, which is quite strange because she used to use her clock and I was waiting for her to do it. But what I suggest, because this is online and we are not really seeing each other, no, I know what the time is. So, and we don't see each other. You can grab your lunch and listen at the same time. This is very much possible. That's the benefits of online meeting. Because for a lot of us, it's only lunchtime in the UK, and the rest of the presenters and audience are actually in different parts of the globe. So if you would like to would agree to compromise and to grab your lunch and to listen at the same time, I think it's very much acceptable. Thank you.
Sorry, can you see me right now?
No, I can't see you. Maybe Tamara, can you see Merab?
No, I cannot.
Strange.
Hannah, are you there? Is there anything that can be done your end?
Maybe you can, like other people have done, log out and log in again.
Yeah, that's the only thing I can suggest.
I'm afraid it's a very time-consuming procedure here, and I prefer to not to do that. because it's very time consuming.
Perhaps we should continue and listen.
Yes.
Okay.
We can just listen. Yes. Although that's a shame.
And now, can you see me? No. Very strange. I don't know. Because I can see myself in my camera, and it appears that in my screen it appears that like I sent my camera to conference, but I have this picture, but you cannot see. That's strange. Okay. Okay. Thank you very much for invitation. It's really very interesting and great opportunity to be with you today. And I would like to start from the beginning, how I start to work and live in the UK. I came to England according to the High Skilled Migrants Program at the end of 2007. After 2 years, this program was terminated, but it was a very useful program for such specialists like me. And my goal was working for pharmaceutical companies as a drug safety physician. Before that, I had worked in this field in Georgia, but I had the opportunity to improve my qualification and gain new knowledge in major pharmaceutical companies. You know, there are a lot of, in England, there are a lot of offices worldwide, pharmaceutical companies. Previously, I worked in Georgia as regulatory authority, and now I had this possibility. After 2007, I received this possibility to work in the other side of front line in pharmaceutical companies, because usually regulatory authorities, regulatory organization, we try to monitor activity of pharmaceutical companies in this field of drug safety, in field of pharmacovigilance. What means drug safety? Drug safety means that you should monitor and you should observe all side effects of drugs. And now, you know, modern medicine is impossible to imagine modern medicine without pharmacotherapy. And we have huge amount of drugs in our practice, in our life. And so we should know, are they safe for usage, how they really work, and are they effective enough, or are they dangerous enough? Sometimes it's, unfortunately, sometimes it occurs that drug may be dangerous for patient. And so we should find this balance. We should monitor how these drugs work and what we should do to improve their efficacy and their safety. For that, we should monitor, we should observe all adverse events or side events which we have with these drugs worldwide and in particular countries. And so that was my job, to review these reports about adverse reactions from pharmaceutical companies, from NHS, from National Health System, and from National Health Service, and from private doctors, and from patients, and from, you know, from any other people. And in early 2008, I started work at Novartis. I started working at Novartis in the town of Horsham. It was in West Sussex, a very lovely place. And Novartis is one of the largest pharmaceutical company, and its Horsham office was opened a long time ago in late 30s. And company is one of the great biggest company in the world, and a lot of medicines of this company are well known, and they are really were game changers in the treatment of various disorders. For example, the well-known anti-epileptic drug carbamazepine was firstly produced by Novartis in 60s, and you know, it was interesting how I started to work there. I had already connection with Novartis before I have cooperation with them in the use of their anti-epileptic drugs for asthma treatment, based on my patent, which was granted in Georgia in 1998. And when they found this information in their files, they accepted me after 4 interviews. It was quite unique in my career, because not before and not after that, no one accepted me on new position after just only 4 interviews. And yes, it was very interesting to work in Novartis. Unfortunately, I cannot tell you about details of my job, because when you work in pharma company, the information which you gain is very confidential. It has a great value for this company or for these competitors, but I can assure you that it was very interesting, and I worked with very interesting drugs, and I monitored their safety for patients, for community, and also we had this possibility to observe not only negative side effects for drug, but also some positive side effects for drugs. I can tell you about positive effects. It's very well-known drug, Viagra. But Viagra initially was designed as antihypertensive drug. And during clinical investigations, they found that this drug is very effective for erectile dysfunction. And after that, they changed its destination for this drug, indication for this drug. This is one interesting, but not unique, interesting sample about that. How observation of adverse events may be very useful for society, not for preventing undesirable adverse events, but also for receiving new indications for promising very interesting drugs. And I worked with Novartis till 2010. Why? Because unfortunately Novartis office was closed in 2010, and they did outsource their office to India. It wasn't an outcome for me, of course. And after that, I started my job as drug safety specialist in a cereal company, Icon, in the town of Eastleigh. It's not far from Southampton and Romsey. And I stayed here for a short time, and in 2011 I began work as a drug safety physician and medical expert at one of the largest pharmaceutical company, Eli Lilly. But I would like to tell you about my Eastleigh period a little bit, because for me it was a very great cultural experience being in Romsey. It's a lovely place, this hunter's house of King John, and it's a beautiful medieval small town with very expensive real property, of course. But it was a lovely place, and lovely history, and lovely museums, lovely medieval abbey here, and it was really very impressive for me. After that, I started my job in Eli Lilly, and I worked in Eli Lilly until the beginning of the pandemic, this pandemic period. The company's office was in Windlesham, Surrey, and at that time I lived in Ascot, and then I lived in Bracknell. It's near Ascot. It was the most interesting period of my professional career, and I gained a great deal from this company in terms of professional development. Eli Lilly is quite a famous company, as they produced insulin earlier than other companies in 1921. And they also have a lot of other drugs like anti-cancer drug, like drugs attention deficit, drugs against attention deficit hyperactivity disorder. It was particularly interesting for me as I'm a neurologist. Also, they have a very nice drug against osteoporosis, teriparatide. Also it was very lovely area in Windlesham, Elwood Manor. It was old hunting property, and they had their very nice buildings. And after the Great War, they had their hospital for UK soldiers, rehabilitation hospital. And it was really a lovely area with great nature and great forest around. In Windlesham area, this Elwood Manor is very well known because very well known and very effective antipsychotic drug olanzapine, the brand name is Zyprexa, was developed and launched there in Windlesham. And this drug was a game changer in the pharmacotherapy of psychiatric disorders. For such disorders like reactive psychosis, schizophrenia, and so on. And it was breakthrough in treatment of these disorders. But regretfully, Eli Lilly also closed their office in 2019 in Windlesham. And probably due to Brexit. And after that, I worked with some tiny pharma companies and CRO. They are not very tiny, because they are not very tiny. It was Kyneps, it was Pira Health Science, and Kyneps and Pira, and they are quite good CROs, quite large CROs. And also last time I worked in 2022 in Pro Pharma Group. I worked with them online in that period. In 2022, I was in London. But now I'm currently in Georgia due to personal reasons. Nevertheless, I maintain connections with my colleagues and friends in England. And a few days ago, I had the opportunity to attend a concert in Batumi with my friends from the English, Georgian, and some Maspinzeli, where they have performance. And I used to be a frequent guest in their rehearsals in London. And taking this opportunity, I would like to say my greetings to Susan Thompson, who's present here. And what about other experience about England? It was a great cultural experience for me. It was also, I have very good friends in England. I have my colleagues there, and I have contacts with them. I have also very good friends, Georgian friends, also in England, including Tershaya, which presented before me. And it was really a great time, and I still have a very close connection with England, with my colleagues, with my friends. And that's very briefly what I may tell you, what I can tell you. And if you have some questions, I will be happy to answer you and to provide additional information.
Thank you. That was really very interesting. Again, another experience of people finding their way in the UK, like we just heard before from Theo. And thank you very much from all your old friends in the UK. And I don't think we have time for questions at the moment. Maybe we'll have them later. We have only one presentation left, because Professor George Gegelashvili, my friend of my university years and professor at the University of Copenhagen. He actually is not able for very important personal reasons to attend today, although he was going to. So we have David Gingeradze, political psychology, something that the whole world, I believe, now needs a lot. Political psychology from New York University and University of Cambridge. And I'm sorry that we're running late. And please, Mr. Gingeradze.
Hi, good afternoon. Sorry, would it be okay if I share my screen?
Yes, actually, you are very welcome to do it.
Yeah, I think it says that only organizers and presenters can share. So if you could make me one for the next 10 minutes.
So can you share?
No, so it doesn't allow me. It says that only meeting organizers and presenters can share.
I think it's down to our host to do it. Is she here?
Perfect. Or if she's not, I can share the link in the group chat. And yeah, and while she does that, I'll just briefly introduce myself. First of all, apologies. I think after a presentation, I'll have to go, and it's not because of a lunch timing. As you might know, the situation in Georgia is pretty bad, and most of us don't really have time for lunch because all of the meetings and all of the things that might not be going on in public, but in the back. So I'm just going to share the link in the chat just in case, and maybe someone could share it if I'm not able to.
Hannah, if you are here, could you help, please, Mr. DeWolf, could you please, David, to share or to have it? And I think you should have had this function because everyone else had.
Yeah, I think it's not allowing me to do so.
Share and go to, whatever you have open.
Great. I mean, hopefully, maybe if you have access, you could just. So I first paste a link in the.
Sorry, are you trying to share your screen? I've just given you access.
Exactly.
Sorry, I've just given you access to do that.
Let me see. Hopefully, it works now. Screen window or tab. Okay. And yeah, I think now it would be allowed. Hopefully now it works. Yeah, I think now we should be able to see my screen. Is that right?
Yes, we can see it. Yes, thank you. Thank you, Hannah.
Thank you. So yeah, my name is David Gingeradze, and before I have 10 minutes, so I into the UK 4 years ago, mostly because I didn't believe that the political situation back in Georgia could change. And I studied psychology, neuroscience originally in New York University, and then I came to London and started my degree at the University of Cambridge. Before I started studying at Cambridge, I've started researching political psychology, and that was what my research was on. So, I mean, the particular question I was looking at was that all of the things that people use to vote for politicians and some of the unconscious biases they might have when they do it. So my specific research was on the effect of masculinity and femininity in politicians' faces and how those could influence perceived competence. And perceived competence is basically a judgment people make within the first few seconds of looking at someone's face, and it can influence political choices in democracies. And what we did here, we manipulated people's faces of the actual politicians, and we saw how manipulating the masculinity or femininity in someone's face actually changed the perceptions of how competent they were, and hence it changed the way how voters would vote for these politicians. Actually, there is pretty convincing research that approximately 70% of times people can guess who won a given political election without actually knowing anything about these people. Now I am sort of shifting way more into the political technology and political technology. So I'm doing a fellowship at Muesli House, which is an organization in London, which a lot of Labour, Green Party, and similar progressive groups sort of are affiliated with. And essentially, the term political technology is pretty tricky because in Russia and post-Soviet space in general, it means It means manipulating people's behaviors and manipulating people in order to believe in certain political things and to influence their vote. So there is a very, solid piece of research coming from UCL about the use of political technology in the Russian sense of this world in the Soviet space, including in Georgia. And all of the electoral manipulations, especially the psychological manipulations, can be broadly considered under the political technology umbrella. One of the obviously famous examples is the war propaganda and, the belief that if the government in Georgia was to change, then Georgia would experience war with Russia. And that sort of draws me to the modern understanding of the word political technology, which is essentially it's a study of how can you use software and technology and psychology in order to benefit a certain political or civic cause. So in the Western world, it's not necessarily about just manipulating people, but it is about making some issues more prominent and also ensuring that not just the other side, but the progressive and pro-democracy side has enough tools, software tools in the age of AI. So broadly, political technologies, civic tech, politics, and psychology sort of all combined together. And so as part of my fellowship at Newspeak House, we study and we research different tools that were used for the purpose of strengthening democracy and civil initiatives worldwide with a focus on the UK. So, this is the slide here. You can see the Civic Tech Field Guide, which is a very valuable resource. It's basically a collection of hundreds of different tech tools that were developed by different people in order to benefit a certain cause. One of the examples of how political technology can be used is, for example, during the Labour campaign, a few progressive strategists, they've designed an AI tool which would basically act as an undecided voter or a voter in general, and it would train people who would then go door to door canvassing for a certain political party. So basically, in modern times, political technology involves using AI responsibly in order to actually train people, in order to prepare them for real life political situations, and in order to shift the balance towards democracy, because currently, as we know, the authoritarian side is way better at using technology. There's many reasons for that. One of the reasons is obviously access to better money resources, better technology resources, access to spyware, such as Pegasus. But it is indeed possible to, for the democratic side, to employ the powers of research from psychology and technology and apply it. And often it is a challenge how to filter through a lot of theoretical frameworks and a lot of different theoretical senses and actually get to a solution that works. And that's probably a big challenge for the pro-democracy side, because in academia especially, we like to focus on theoretical questions and come up with psychological experiments that are truly experimental and are isolated sort of in a lab. But as the political situation develops in Georgia and elsewhere, and in other regional contexts, it's important to basically try to see how can we use technology in order to benefit our cause. And one of the, basically, I'll briefly talk in a couple of minutes about some of my initiatives that are currently using technology to one extent or the other. So one is, for example, Imedi TV watch. It's called Imedi Watch, in fact. It's basically an AI-powered initiative that uses AI to automatically translate and classify the propaganda from Georgian channels. So it monitors TV Imedi, Rustavi, Post TV, and the Georgian public broadcaster. And what it does with interaction of human volunteers, it allows them to simply paste a link to a disinformation, and then the AI algorithm translates it directly, and then it classifies it into the categories. So someone who is on the website, Imedi Watch, and I'll link it later in the chat, can actually see the true extent of the propaganda that's happening in Georgia. And this is basically, I would say, 80% AI technology powered tool. The website was powered by, interaction of human coders and AI. And it speeds up the process of finding the propaganda. It's not ideal, but it makes it easier for the Western partners of Georgian Democratic Front to see what is actually going on in Georgia. And this has been integrated into a newsletter that the members of Resistance Movement of Georgia, we send to our international partners so they can actually see what's going on in Georgia and what's not. And the other sort of tech initiative is the Freedom Fund, which I think is mostly famous in Georgia for the outcome of it. It's the initiative that used to fund people's legal fees that they would face as a result of protesting on pro-democracy protests in Georgia. But here I want to talk a couple of minutes about the tech side of it and basically the way it was created. So it was created using the V0. It's a software that allows you to build websites and integrate it with databases. And for a user to make it easy to integrate and to interact with these databases. So we have built the Freedom Fund essentially as originally an initiative to help people to cover their fines in Georgia. Now we are fully focused on the political prisoners because you know that Georgia has many of them. And what we did here, we basically integrated different ways to pay and receive money, not just through Georgian currency, but through international payment systems that are inaccessible to the Georgian government. So something that we've integrated in this initiative is a donation of Georgian currency without using Georgian banks. It's integration of UK bank transfers, but also integration of cryptocurrencies. So cryptocurrency is, it's a hotly debated topic and is considered a relatively safe and anonymous way of donating if it's done correctly. And what we did here, we've integrated the Proton wallet, which is a protected server in Switzerland, and an email service. So if any of you are using Proton emails, you might know about Proton, but they also have wallets. So we've integrated it with the website and enabled the crypto donations that could directly go to benefit the resistance movement in Georgia. So I think that was about it. I hope you could see my screen. And just as a minute of the conclusion, essentially, so within the fellowship and within the framework of political technology, we're looking at the things that could be applied not just online and technologically, but that could be deployed easily on the ground. So that means not just in Tbilisi, but in the regions. And some of the big questions we're asking is how do we use sometimes complicated modern technology in order to actually get it to the people in the regions and ensure a freer access to information, a more equitable access to tech, and basically an enhanced access to democracy that should benefit everyone. So thank you. And I'll leave my contact details in the chat in case anyone has any questions or follow-ups.
Thank you very much. That was really, really interesting, very down to the point. It was particularly interesting how people can identify the different types of masculine or feminine types of the visuals in order to either trust or not trust. That's a very interesting point, which I've never thought about. I have a very unexpected question for you. Do you teach?
I don't formally teach right now. So there is an initiative in Georgia, which is called Political School of Georgia, where maybe I'll read 1 or 2 lectures, but I'm currently not teaching, which is a pity. I would love to, because I think that should be shared to people.
Because I wanted to tell you that you have excellent teaching skills.
So
therefore,
much.
I would advise you to think about this as well. Yeah.
Thank you so much. It's really heartwarming.
Thank you. Very interesting, kind of a conclusion to our today's session. And we don't have really time, or do we have time for questions, Tamara? Your mic.